Okay, guys. So, as you know, we are starting with the topic of sets. So, we have already seen some of the collections or some of the built-in data types of your Python. So, we have covered list. So, you all are familiar with list. What is a list? How to create a list? What are the different built-in functions that are there available with your list? So, we have covered all those things. And then we saw about your tuples. Okay, and I told you that there is not much difference between the list and the tuples. So it is almost same. Only thing is lists are mutable. That is list can accept modifications. So in case if we want, we can add more datas or delete some datas from the list, but tuples are immutable. So once we have created the tuple, it does not have any functions to add any more elements or to delete any elements or any modifications. Those things are not possible with your tuples. So this is the basic difference between the list and the tuples. The next data structure what we saw was your dictionaries. So again I told you that dictionary is one of the very important concepts with your Python. So in dictionary, what was the advantage? We were able to store the data in form of a key value pair. So we save the data with the key and the value for that. And here we saw some important pointers like keys should always be unique, values can be duplicated, and then we saw about different functions that are related to your dictionaries. And then we saw about, sorry, we saw the concept of your nested dictionaries. So these are some things which we covered with the dictionary. So now the fourth type, the fourth data structure what we are going to see is about the concept of sets. So sets is one again important concept within your Python. So first thing is how to create a set. So remember, sets are always created using this curly braces. Using the pair of curly braces is what we will always create a set. Now you might be thinking, we use the same curly braces for our dictionary also. So we are using the same curly braces for our sets also. But here always remember, in your dictionary, the way in which we save the data is entirely different. So as I was been telling you, we are going to have something called as a key value pair. But here in sets, there is nothing like that. It is just going to be a set of values separated by comma. That is what your sets is going to be having. So sets is a collection of data where each and every data will be separated by comma. Okay, that is the concept of my sets, and the entire data will be enclosed within the pair of the curly braces. Right. So next thing that is important point is list is, your sets are heterogeneous. So I already told you what do you mean by the concept of heterogeneous. So heterogeneous data type means it will accept different types of data. So you can store any type of data inside a set. You can store integer, string values, float values, complex values. You can store any type of data inside a set object. So that is what you mean by heterogeneous in nature. And the next one is it is dynamic. So as and when we want, we can add more data into the set, and when we don't want certain data, we can remove the data also from your set. So as and when we add the data, the size will grow automatically, and as and when we remove the data, the size is going to be shrink automatically. So that is what I mean by it is dynamic in nature. So it is not having any fixed size. The size is going to differ according to the values that we are going to give. Then another important point, it is mutable. So like my list, like my dictionaries, sets are also mutable. That is, I can do modifications to my set data type. That is, once if I want, I can add more elements to it. I can delete more elements to it. So like that, we can do multiple things for sets. So that is what we call as it is mutable. Now, one very important point with sets is it is unordered. So unordered in the sense, see, normally when I add data into my list, so in whichever way I am adding, the data are going to be stored in the same format. That is in the same order. So if I am saying 10, 20, 30, then the first number what is going to be stored is 10, then 20, then 30. So like that is what my list is going to store the data. So that is why we call it as an ordered collection. But here in sets, the way in which you are going to give the data and the way in which the data is going to be stored internally, okay, is may or may not match, because it is entirely not up to us. So how the list set is going to store the data internally, it is not in the hands of a programmer. A programmer cannot control it. So that is why we call this as unordered. So it does not maintain any insertion order here. So internally it is going to be stored in a way in which it wants the data, and when we are trying to print the sets, we will never get it in one particular order. So that we will see in the program. When we are doing the program, I will show you how it is. And one more important point is, since the sets are unordered, then we do not have the concept of indexes. So remember very carefully, sets do not have indexes. I do not have the
Ma'am,
concept of index.
excuse me,
Yes.
ma'am. Many are waiting, ma'am. Can you please join them?
Yeah, 1 second. Done, ma. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, so as I was saying, index concept is not available, yeah, with the sets. So we do not have negative index, positive index, nothing is available here. And one more important thing is, since indexes are not available, slicing operations is also not possible. So you know that slicing can be done only based on your indexes, and since sets do not have indexes, we cannot perform any slicings also on the sets. So these are not possible things. Right. Then one of the key things with regards to your set is, sets does not allow duplicate data. So if you want to store some values inside the set, then one important condition is that all the values should be unique. You cannot have any repetitive data inside a set because it is not accepted. So set allows only unique elements to be stored inside that. So that is one very important point with regards to the set. And the next thing is, unlike all other data structures, so what we have seen, list, sets, dictionaries and all, I'm sorry, list, tuples, dictionaries, here sets have one important feature, that is, set supports mathematical operations. So I have some set of predefined functions, okay, that can be used in some mathematical operations like union, intersection, differences, symmetric, disjoint, join sets. So like that, I can perform certain mathematical operations on my set objects. So this feature is available only for my set and not for the other data structures. So these are some of the important takeaways that you have to remember with regards to the set. Right. So now let us see how to create a set. Okay, this is something. So now I have a task for you, which I will tell you at the end of the session what needs to be done. Right. So now how to create a set. Okay, so again, as I was telling you, there are multiple ways for me to create a set. So one of that is, I'm going to use the curly braces. As I have told you that sets are represented using the curly braces. So now the first method what we are going to see is how to create a set using the curly braces. So what we are going to do, create a variable, then equals to, within the pair of opening and closing curly braces, I am going to give each and every value separated by a comma. Here I am creating everything of a string type. So it is not necessary. I have already told you that sets are heterogeneous. So I can have any type of data present inside my set. But here, just in this example, I am making use of all the string values. So now let us try to run these programs and check out how it is going to be working for us. Yes. So guys, here I am making use of the Jupyter software, okay, which is coming with your Anaconda version. And if you guys remember properly, I have actually shared you one file in which I have told you like how to download and install the softwares. In that, I have given you instructions for both IDLE also, and I have given instructions for Anaconda also. So in that, I am making use of the Jupyter software now. So now what I'm going to do is, right, so here is the screen for Jupyter. So first thing what we are going to do in this is, let me show you how to use it. I'm just closing it right now. Okay, so for making use of Jupyter, what you're going to do first is, once the software is installed, then the next step is you're just going to go to your search and just type Anaconda. So you will be getting a prompt box like this called as Anaconda prompt. So click on this. Okay, so once this is there, sorry, see, Anaconda prompt will be coming. So in this, what you're going to type is Jupyter, Jupyter space notebook. So just type Jupyter notebook here in the prompt window. So just press the enter key. As you can see here, my Jupyter is getting automatically opened. Right, so here what is the next step you're going to do is, you have this tab called as new. So go inside this new. See, you have the version called as Python 3. So you just have to select this particular module. So once you select this, see, a new screen like this will be created. So here you can type in your codes easily. So here what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to make use of one thing what I have already created. Okay, so I have just created all my files in a folder. So I'm just going to make use of that. Okay, so there you go. Going for new Python. So here you have the title. You can just change the title to anything what you want. So I'm just saving this file with the name called as sets. Okay, see, it is done. So now what I'm going to do is, we are going to type the program in this box. So I will just copy the code. Done. So this is, as I said, method 1. How I'm going to create a set with using the curly braces. So let us comment this. Right. There you go. So now how to execute this program. So now what I have done, I have created the set. So then after creating the set, what I'm doing, I'm printing the type of this variable, yes. Then I'm printing the length of this variable, yes. So you know how, what is the length function going to do? Length function is going to return the number of elements that is present inside the collection. So here, how many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is going to give me the value result as 7. Then I'm printing the set itself. Then I'm printing the complete set itself. So now, in order for me to run this program, what you can do, just select this tab and just click on the run. See, automatically you are able to see the output here itself. So this is how I will be making use of my Jupyter software. Why I'm using this, I'll tell you that. Here inside one single file itself, I can load multiple programs. So that is the advantage why I'm using Jupyter. So all the programs related to the sets, I can maintain under one single file. Okay, so that is why I'm actually showing you this demos. in this particular software. So here, as you can see what is the type it says? It says that it is a set. So the length is 7, and see how the datas are given to you. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this code again. Select it. You can run this any number of times as you want to. Right, so this is one way. So this is the order in which you are getting the data. As you can see, this is not the order in which you have inserted the data. You have inserted the data as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. But see here how it is displaying for you. So that is why I said it is an unordered collection. So it doesn't maintain any order here for us. So whatever way you are giving the data and the way in which the data is going to be displayed for you is going to be entirely different. Now let us try the same thing. Let us try the same program using the Ideally software, which you are already familiar with. You all know how to make use of my Ideally software. So
Ma'am,
let me
many
run
are waiting
this.
to join, ma'am. Can you please allow them? They are messaging in the group.
Okay, done. Okay guys, so let us run this program also with Ideally. You see here the difference in the output. So here when I was executing the program, it was coming Tuesday, Friday, Monday, Sunday, so on. But here you see the output. These things are same. It is still a set. Still the length is 7. That and all is not different. But see how the output is coming. Let us try and execute the program again. This time see, same program, but this time it is giving me a really different set of output as what it showed. The first time was like this, second time was like this. So thus proving my point that sets are unordered. So internally how the data is going to be stored, how when you print the entire set, how the data will be getting printed, in which order it will come, that is actually unpredictable for you. So you cannot predict the output in any order. Since they are unordered, you will be getting the results like this. So this is one very, very important point what you have to remember with regards to the sets. Now, I told you there are different ways for creating. Now, what is the second way? The second way is I have a predefined method. I have a predefined function that is called as set of. Just like what I have list of, tuple of, dict of, same way I have a function called as set of. So whatever you pass inside this function, okay, as a parameter will be converted as a, so that is how we will be making use of this particular function. So how to create a set using this function. So this is the way of creating. So what you are going to do, same way, some variable name equals to set of, remember set is a function, so you will be having the parenthesis. So any function is always represented by the open and the close parenthesis, so you will be using the parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, within the square brackets, so please remember the syntax of it is little different. So inside the parenthesis, within the square bracket, you will be giving a comma separated value. So this is how you will be using creating the set using the set of method, set of function or set of method. Now when I run this, see still yes is a set, still the length is like this, still I'm getting the output in this order. But the way in which I have created here, directly using the curly braces, I am giving the values one by one. Here, I am making use of a function called set of. So inside that function, I am passing a list of data. I am passing a list of data. So now this list is going to get converted into a set, and then it is going to get stored in this variable, which is yes. So this is the second way of actually creating a set. Now, going for the third method. Okay, so here I go. See here what I have done. Instead of going like that, I have done it like this. This is also going to do the same thing. This is also going to do the same thing as that. So what I'm doing is I am creating a list. Then I'm using the set method and I am passing the name of the list inside. So what is going to happen? This list will be converted as a set and then it is going to be stored inside this variable. Same as what I am doing here. Here I am not creating an extra variable. Here inside directly I am passing the list. But here I have created the list and I am passing the name of the list inside the set of function. So both are going to give me the same result. Whichever way I want it, I can make use of it. So this is another way of doing the function. Right. So now going for the next method. Let me run this also. It is going to give me the same thing. So here I have given all string values. Here I'm using all integer values. So I already told heterogeneous. So any data types I can give for creating a set, no problem. Right. So now again, you guys are familiar with the range function, I'm sure. You remember the range function? So what is the range function going to do? Range is a function which is used to generate a collection of numbers, a group of numbers. So here a range function always has a start, it always has an end, and it has a step value. So you know the syntax of this also. Here what is going to do? I am saying range of 1, 20 and the step value I am giving as 3. So first it is going to take 1. Now what is the second value going to be? 1 plus 3. So 4. Then the third value 4 plus 3, 7. So on. The values will go till 19. So always remember whatever the ending number you are going to give, that number minus 1. So it is going to stop one number before that end itself. So the range function is going to generate the numbers. Okay, and that number is going to get converted into a set and it is going to get stored in the variable. Yes. So this is just another way. See, how is the range function getting generated? Starting number is 1. What is the next number? I'm giving the step value as 3. So it is going for 4, 7, 10 and so on. So this is just another way of creating your sets using the set of function or the set of method. Right. So next one. Using your eval
Ma'am,
function.
can you please repeat using range function?
Yes. Guys, see, range is actually a predefined function or we also call range as a data type. I hope you guys remember that. So range actually takes 3 parameters. So normally the range function has 3 parameters. The first one is the starting value. The second one is the ending value. The third one is the step value. So this is how the range function will always take the value. Okay, so now I have to generate the number. So before going into this, let me just take this alone. Okay, let us try to understand this alone. So now, when I run this code, okay, so I'm going to say for I in, let us store this in a variable. Okay, let me say x is equal to range of. So now I'm saying for I in x. So print I. So let us try to understand first how the range function is going to be working for me. So I said starting, ending and step value. So always remember whatever the ending number you are going to give here, it will stop one number before that ending number. So if you give the ending as 20, then it is going to stop till 19. So if you want to include 20 also, we are going to give here as 21. So always remember whatever is the ending number you are mentioning here, that minus 1 is going to be the end value. Now coming to the step value. Okay, now first let us understand. I am saying the starting number is 1. Okay, now it has taken 1. Okay, now it is taking 1. Now next, what is the second number? What is the next number going to be? How to decide that is with the help of my step value. So starting number, whatever was there, plus the step value is going to be my next number. So starting number was 1, step value is 3. So 1 plus 3, 4 is going to be the next number. Now after 4, what should be the next number? So 4, that is the current value plus the step value. Okay, the current value plus the step value is going to be your next value. And so on. This is going to be repeated for each and everything. So always remember how the range function works. Current value, first it will print the current value. Then for the next value, it will always choose current value plus step value. So like that, it is going to go here. So once it prints 19, my loop ends. Here my range function ends because 20 is the ending number. So all these things are going to be stored here inside the x variable. So that x variable I am looping. You know what is the purpose of loop? Whatever the values is there, one by one I'm going to print it using the loop. Now here, instead of printing it like this, what I'm going to do is, I am using the set function. So the same numbers is going to be generated by this function also. So this numbers is going to get converted as a set, and it is going to be okay. So this set, and then it is going to be stored in this variable yes for me. So that is another way of creating your set values. So please understand, I have different ways of doing that, and this is one of the way. See, again, let me just sorry. Okay. So is it clear now, or you still have any doubt? Do you understand the range function now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am.
see, yeah, see, if you want, you can just, kind of give here the step value as 1. So now, what will be the output? How is my output going to be now? Can you please tell?
1 to 20.
1
Numbers
to
are
19,
printed.
ma'am.
1 to
1
19.
to
So please
19.
remember,
19.
whatever is the ending number, it will stop one number before that itself. Suppose here, if I am giving the step value as 2, now what will happen? See? So the first number, current number plus the step value going to be my third number. Then the current number plus the step value my next number. So like this, it is going to print the series for me. So remember, this is how my range function will work. And this value, I am creating a set, and I'm going to store this inside a set. So let me just delete this. It's not needed. Okay. Now, moving on to the next thing. Next thing is making use of my eval function. So I guess you all remember your eval function. So where do we make use of the eval function? When I want to dynamically read the value from the user. That is, when I'm going to run my program. At that time, I want to provide the value for my variable. Then I will be making use of my eval function. So this is one way of reading dynamic input. So eval is one way of getting your dynamic input. So now see what I'm saying. Yes is equal to eval of input of. So we know that whenever we want some values from the user, we have to make use of the input function. So here I am using the eval function. Inside that I am using the input function. So now let us run this. When I run this, see what it says. Enter the set. Where is this coming from? Whatever the prompt you are giving inside the input function will get printed as it is. Okay, now, how did I say I have to create the set? Using the curly braces. So, have the curly braces where each and every value will be a comma separated once. Now, give how much ever value you want, you can give inside. So, I am using different values here. Okay, now after giving this, okay, after mentioning it, you are going to press the enter key. So once I give the enter key, see what happens. This is the value I have given. So how am I giving the values? Inside the curly braces. So my eval function, as soon as it sees this curly braces and it sees all this value, it will know that this is going to be a set. So it will convert this entire value into a set and then it will store it inside the S variable. So when I try to print the type of S, it is showing me the data as set and how much. Okay, 7 elements are there inside. And then what are those elements? See. And look here, remember, insertion order will never be maintained. So it is going to get internally stored in the way in which it wants it. So I cannot decide how it is going to be stored internally. So this is a way of getting dynamic input using your eval function. Right. So going on to the next one, using loops. So I am saying I don't want to give like this. I don't want to give the data like this. Using the eval function, I don't want it. I want to use the traditional loops. That is, I want to give the data one by one. I want to enter the numbers one by one number. I want to enter. So how to do that?